I am Jack, and welcome back because today I'm going to give you guys a review for the newest film by Tom Cruise, which finally came out after a few years of COVID delays that I've been really excited for so long. Top Gun Maverick. It is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who gave us films like Tron Legacy, Oblivion, and Only the Brave, and it stars Tom Cruise, Jennifer Connelly, Miles Teller, Glen Powell, Val Kilmer, and more. And with that said, let's get started. The film is set 30 years after the events of the original film and follows Lieutenant Pete Maverick Mitchell, who is dodging getting an advancement rank within the military and is just out there pushing the envelope as a test pilot. However, he is tasked to teach a bunch of graduates who are some of the top pilots within the United States military, and he must train them to work as a team and go on this very deadly mission while Maverick confronts the ghost of his past. I love the original Top Gun. I think Tom Cruise and Goose, the dynamic between those two characters, I think are really great. I love the fighter pilot sequences of that movie, and it's a fun movie, and it felt very much like an 80s movie to that added to the mix. And so for a while, I was really excited for the sequel because it's been 30 years since the original film, and it's been delayed numerous times by COVID. And Tom Cruise made it explicitly clear he didn't want this movie to be released to streaming or have a hybrid release. And so last night, I finally got the chance to see this movie after such a long time. But what did I think of this movie? I absolutely loved Top Gun Maverick. It is a sequel that's even better than the original, and it is just a fantastic movie all around. The cast here is fabulous. I love Tom Cruise as Maverick once again. He has a lot of layers to him, especially in terms of emotional weight, because there is far more emotions to unpack out of this movie as he's dealing with the death of his partner, and so as how 30 years have passed, and just where we see him at the start of this movie and just how it progresses. And I love his dynamic with characters played by Miles Teller and Jennifer Connelly as Rooster and Penny. And so Tom Cruise just works so well in this movie. And what also adds to that is because he's so dedicated to making his movies as practical and as amazing as he possibly can. And he truly delivers his A game whenever he's on screen. And the whole supporting cast here is great, from Jennifer Connelly, who I love the dynamic between her and Tom. And so as Miles Teller with Tom. I love how Miles Teller plays the son of Maverick's partner, Goose, who passed away in the first movie due to an accident. And so we see the tension between those two and how Tom Cruise as Maverick wants to just make sure that he's safe because he doesn't want anything bad to happen to Rooster like what happened to Goose. And so I really liked that aspect of things. And so as Glen Powell as Hangman, and how he comes into everything with his cocky and attitude and him trying to be leader and just show his worth. I think he's just really great here, and the cast overall is great, especially some surprises you'll find here and there. And the visuals and cinematography here with the camera work, a lot of the stuff is done practically, especially the aircraft fight scenes, and they are exhilarating. They're some of the best, or perhaps the best, aircraft fight scenes on planes I've ever seen. Just the way they were shot and how real it feels, and knowing that they filmed hundreds upon hundreds of hours filming aircraft fighter sequences, I think is just gorgeous. I really felt like I was on those planes with them as those sequences were happening, from just filming there with the camera, and just the actors made sure that they made it look as convincing as possible, and they really did. And it's just super engaging stuff, and I just really love what they were able to pull off in that side of the movie, because the first movie had some really good airplane fight sequences, but this movie, it takes that and doubles it, especially with how much time has passed and how much advancement we've had in just planes and the visuals. And there's some beautiful cinematography work, especially in the first half of this movie and even in the back half as it progresses, with camera work where you see the planes just fly in these locations. It's beautiful. It's such a well shot and a well directed movie by Joseph Kosinski. And I think this is by far his best film that I've seen him create. And I just love how he was able to tell a new story with the Top Gun characters, especially with Maverick, and how he was able to tell a new story that honors and pays homage to the original film while still trying to tell something new with Top Gun Maverick. And I just love how with this story, right from the get-go in the first half of the movie, you knew the stakes, you knew the dangers, that you knew that there's something that needs to be stopped, and that you want Maverick and Rooster and Hangman and all the pilots to win, but you see the risks, you know the danger that they could lose their lives. And I love how there's tension throughout. So throughout the movie, you see them try to go through all these fighter missions like dogfights and really cool stuff, especially in that area of things, and just how you feel the urgency and you just fear for our characters because of how they could either come home and successfully win, or they could lose their lives in battle. And I think this movie does so well with giving us what's the play here, what is our current stakes and just threat that is having to be faced. The score for this movie is really great by Lauren Balfe, who also did some of the Mission Impossible movies like Fallout. And it also has people like Lady Gaga and Hans Zimmer and more into the mix. And I think it's a great score. I even love that they got to bring back the original Top Gun theme from the original movie. And they brought back the most iconic song to come out of the original movie. And I think it's just a really great score throughout, especially as we see these sequences happen with them on planes and just with anything. I think it's just a great score for this film. It's also an extremely well-paced movie at only 2 hours and 17 minutes. I loved the opening scene of this movie. It's just a beautiful opening with just the characters, and I love how it gives you just kind of the idea on just how it jumpstarts Maverick's story in this film. And it's just from a cinematography standpoint and just with what was going on, it's an excellent opening scene. And it is a movie that I feel like you will love it if you see it in the biggest screen possible, whether it's IMAX or Dolby. It's worth watching on the biggest screen you can, especially for not just the opening scene, which is phenomenal in of itself, but so is the whole movie, because the whole plane sequences and the dogfights and the action is spectacular. And it's so worth the price of admission to go see this on the biggest screen possible. Adding to that, if you love the original movie, this movie tributes that original film with old characters and some moments that happened in the original movie. It will really tug on your heartstrings, and it's a very emotional movie as we see Maverick confronting his demons and all the events that's happened to him in the past, especially from the original film, with how he's reeling from the fact that Goose's death took a toll on him, and he wanted Rooster, played by Miles Teller, to be safe because he doesn't want to let Rooster down the way Goose passed away in the accident. And so I really like how we saw like tension there, because Rooster is one of the best pilots in the United States military, and how it's like he wants to do this. He wants to go be a pilot and go on this mission and do it. But you feel Maverick and how conflicted he is, how he's like, on one hand, I feel like he's letting him down, but then on the other, it's like, I want to protect him. And you really just feel that bond. There's like some fatherly elements to it. And I think it's just done so well, especially with the dynamic between Tom Cruise and Miles Teller. And I was able to buy into the relationship both of them had. I was able to believe it and to just acknowledge, like, yes, they've had this relationship with one another, especially just with some of the events of the first film and that the stuff that happens here, and how Maverick will do anything to protect Rooster, and all he wants is what's best for Rooster, but Rooster also knows what he wants to do and how he wants to go on this mission. And I think it's just such a great dynamic between these two characters, because it is, in a way, the heart of the movie. A lot of this movie boils down to those two characters. And Miles Teller and Tom Cruise did it so well that the whole movie, it manages to work extremely well in of itself. And one of the biggest questions about this movie is Val Kilmer in this movie? He played Iceman from the original film, and for a while everyone's wondering, does he reprise his role in this movie? Does he actually show up in this movie, or is he just a picture. And without spoiling the character, what happens with Val Kilmer, yes, he is in this movie. Not a spoiler. And how he's used is just excellent. I love what they were able to do with Iceman and how it ties into the story. It's a very beautiful and a very moving moment emotionally, especially if you're somebody who loves the original Top Gun, because the moments with Iceman are really going to pull on your heartstrings. And the third act of this movie is some of the best third acts I've seen in movies all year, up there with Everything Everywhere and The Batman. It's so thrilling and intense, and it's probably an even better third act than in the original movie. As much as I love the original film, and I still do, this is even better than the original, especially on so many levels. But in the third act, it is intense. I was left on the edge of my seat with this mission and the characters, and how it's like you feel the tension, and now that it's finally in motion and so many crazy things happen. Right when you think the craziness peaked, they find a way to elevate that even more as it goes on, and I was left riveted. I was in utter shock when I was watching this, because the third act here is just crazy. And I just love what was happening here. And it really pays off what the whole movie's about so well. It captures what the story and the character arcs were trying to be about. And so I love that the third act here was what it was, because the pilot sequences are phenomenal and the practical effects are just terrific. And just all the stuff that ends up happening is just amazing, and it's so well executed, because a lot of these moments end up really hitting the beats they should, and the culmination of that third act is just very well earned, and it really perfectly encapsulates and culminates everything that happened in the film. I gotta give Tom Cruise respect. I love how he's able to go out there and do things practically, even if he puts his life on the line, especially with all the cast members. They actually filmed on these planes to film all these pilot scenes with dogfights and turns and all these things. It's just so great, and I love that they didn't CGI any of this, because a lot of this felt real, and I felt like I was immersed into this movie, and I was able to connect with these characters and be invested in the dynamics with one another. And I just love how each of these characters served a purpose in this story, and that you couldn't really remove one character, otherwise it all falls apart. And I think it's just a very well-crafted movie, not just from the action standpoint, but even from the drama, because even the drama worked just as well as the action sequences that are involved. And it makes Top Gun Maverick just an excellent movie and a phenomenal legacy sequel. I highly recommend you all go see Top Gun Maverick on the biggest theater screen you can possibly find. It is absolutely worth all your money. It is an amazing film, one of the best legacy sequels ever created, up there with the likes of Blade Runner 2049 and Star Wars The Force Awakens. And I love just this story with the Top Gun characters and how it continues Maverick's story, and just how just the beautiful airplane and pilot fight sequences and the cinematography and visuals. Just, it's an amazing movie, and those who love Top Gun are going to love this movie without a doubt in my mind. And it's so much fun, and by the time the credits rolled in my theater, we were all clapping and cheering, because it was a terrific film, and I loved what Joseph Kosinski was able to do to honor the original Top Gun and tell this new story alongside Tom Cruise and the entire crew. And this makes this one of the best movies to come out this year so far. So in the end, I'm going to give Top Gun Maverick an A+. This movie extremely satisfied me in so many levels. It really surpassed my expectations for this movie, and it's even better than I could have imagined it to be. Tom Cruise and the crew delivered the best movie they possibly can with it, and I just love how they were able to do a lot of this stuff practically and tell a beautiful story with Maverick. And just a lot of the stuff that happens is just phenomenal and some of the best things I've ever seen in film this year. So definitely go check it out soon. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Top Gun Maverick. What are your thoughts on this movie? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear, and give me a point of reference. Are you a fan of the original Top Gun? I'd love to hear and see how does this stack up against the original for you. I'd love to hear it, and stay tuned. I have a review for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker coming up soon as I finally conclude my series of Star Wars film reviews. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that, and don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below, so please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching it. Don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and go feel the need for speed.
No turning back now.
Come on! Jeez!
Having any fun yet?